So let's just wind this all the way back to the Jacob Blake shooting, which was the proximate cause of all of this chaos. What happened there, to my eye, again, we're talking at one point in time, and who knows what facts will come out in subsequent days or weeks. We might learn a lot about the cops there. We might learn that they're all members of the local chapter of the KKK, and therefore racism could have been a conscious motive on their parts. But when I see a shooting like that, within the frame of that video, the color of everyone's skin is totally irrelevant. I've seen videos like that where white people are getting shot. I've seen videos like that where black people are getting shot by black cops. And, I've talked at sufficient length about the statistics of all of these encounters with cops and applications of violence, lethal and not, and justified and not, to say that the story is certainly not a clean Black Lives Matter story of us having an epidemic of racist police violence against young black men. That is just, the statistics don't bear that out. I would just say to our listeners, you have to listen to my 2-hour walk through this morass titled, Can We Step Back from the Brink? Or Can We Pull Back from the Brink? One of those. But so when I look at a video like this, and I'd be interested to know if you see this differently, we clearly see a person who has been resisting arrest. I don't know to what degree he fought with the cops before the video starts. I mean, we see him just essentially moving away from the cops, and their guns are already drawn at this point. But I think it's, from other video, I think it's pretty clear that there was a kind of wrestling match happening, and then he broke away. And then you have fully 3 cops, if memory serves, pursuing him around his car, and he's, now opening his door to either get into his car to drive away or reaching into the driver's side of the car for something. It's not clear from the video. And then he gets shot 7 times in the back, and now he is, I believe, still in some terrible state and very likely paralyzed, though I think it seems likely he'll survive at this point. And this encounter gets summarized virtually everywhere in mainstream media as, this is not a verbatim quote, but this is a paraphrase of virtually every summary I've seen, yet another black man shot by white cops, or a black man shot in the back 7 times in front of his kids by white cops, right? And it's an article of faith that the skin color of all involved is absolutely relevant here and worth emphasizing. And it's also an article of faith that all of these details have some moral opprobrium attached to them. Like, it is assumed that the cop could never be justified in shooting someone in the back in an encounter like this. Whereas if you understand how violence evolves, and you understand that we're living in a society in the U.S. where every police officer has to assume that everyone they are dealing with is either potentially armed, and if they're reaching for something in their car, they are very likely reaching for a gun. I mean, this is not the default assumption perhaps in Western Europe, but in the U.S., it absolutely has to be. Our failures of gun control are relevant here. But the idea that cops are performing some kind of lynching by shooting someone in the back because he has fought them off, ran around his car and opened the door and reached in, it's just completely untrue given a cop's eye view of the world. I think that the only thing I want to say here, and I'll turn it over to you, that really does put the onus on the cops is clearly they lacked the training or capacity to control him physically and take him down so that they wouldn't have to use lethal force, right? I mean, like, cops who actually could restrain somebody could have easily restrained him. He was outnumbered. He was walking away from them in a way that allowed for any cop with a modicum of training to take him down and hold him down. And the fact that they couldn't do that suggests that there's a serious recruitment problem and training problem, and we know this is true, nationwide. And so that's something to be worried about and rectified.